Hey guys, this is the Lifegain is Stupid deck. We're playing against Goblins in this matchup. Opening hand was pretty cool. We have Crossroads, we have two Steeps again to cycle, which is great. Early play on Martyr of the Sands, but I think I'm going to start out with the Crossroads first, being able to cycle those and put the Martyr into play on turn 2. It's going to keep me tapped out. You want to be aware of the fact that you do need one available to use Martyr, and by being tapped out, you kind of lose that ability to respond. Especially with Goblins, there are things that they have to kill that off, even if you choose not to block. But I really wanted to go for the draw. Got into a second Martyr. I think perhaps the better move here would have been to cycle the other Steep instead of playing that first Martyr, because you see here, like I was saying, Death Spark comes out and kills that off. So a bit of a misplay on my part, but it's okay because I still have other cards. Now, it's kind of interesting when you have these Martyrs to stand. Sometimes you want to be able to hold on to certain things, maybe not drop every creature you draw in order to up your count for this ability of revealing cards. He's going to attack through for 2, and I will just have to take it. Puts me back at 20 and back where I started. Now at 3 mana, I have the ability to cycle the land and play Martyr of Sands with the 1 mana available to use its ability. So, opponent's turn. He did not play a creature, so both of his goblins could not attack. But he does play down a Martyr of Ashes. I don't know why he did this backwards. He should have played the Martyr first and then attacked with his goblins. And, he just, I guess, made a misplay. He does respond by playing that and using it to reveal the War Marshal to do 1 damage, but because I have the 1 mana available, I'm going to be able to sacrifice the Martyr of Sands and reveal these 3 cards in my hand. That's going to put me up to 29 life. So, clear those out. Now it is my turn. Plenty of mana available to me. I could play the Rift Watcher, but the more plays I can get in, the better. So I'm going to start off by cycling... okay, fine, I'll start off by playing the Missionary, but I am still going to be able to cycle the Renewed Faith to go up life and draw a card. 35 life now, pretty awesome, but he does have the ability to get his Death Spark back in hand. Definitely a tricky thing to get around, especially when you're playing the Goblins version that is running Martyr of Ashes, because they have the options to basically manipulate their graveyard in a way that they can get that Death Spark back. So puts out Goblin War Marshal and uses the Death Spark to hit my Missionary, which is something I'm going to have to expect. A lot of 1 toughness creatures in this deck, and it's something that you just can't avoid. Gotta take 4 damage, but that's more than I can handle. I'm sorry, it's not more than I can handle at this point in time. Decided to play Oblivion Ring. I wanted to remove the War Marshal. There's a lot of stuff that can happen when you get the Sledders out, and you can sacrifice goblins. The trick to this is that, it dies, it gets the 1/1 token, but at the same time, by removing it, it's not really dying, so he loses that token. Perhaps other things I can do, but there are a lot of times where Goblins does miss a creature drop, and especially at this point in time where he's got only 2 cards in hand, it is very possible that he misses his creature drop and those cannot attack, so they're really not the biggest threat on the board. Now down comes Sparksmith, and I was planning on getting this Rift Watcher out as soon as possible. I have the Cloud Shift to keep it alive, but I really at this point in time have to get rid of the Sparksmith. I feel like I'm going to trip over this word a lot, but that guy is absolute trouble, and gotta get rid of it as soon as I can. So, swings for 5, takes me down to 26. Got into a scroll here, but we're going to Oblivion Ring the Sparksmith, and eventually put down this scroll. I do leave 1 available, I don't know why. The scroll can come down, there's nothing about it you can hide. I mean, it's there. I like to play these as soon as possible, and then, I can activate them whenever I finally get the Angel. So, if you don't, it's not a big deal. You can still draw a card off it, but it's just not as good. So, Rift Watcher's going to come down. I'm going to be able to play the scroll and have mana available to use the Cloud Shift if he does find some way like Lightning Bolt to get rid of the Rift Watcher. So he attacks through, and now it's a little more trouble because he has, Martyr is not a big deal. That only affects non-flying creatures, but the Sledder is a bit of a problem. So he attacks with the 3 here, and my choices are to block the 2/2s or the token. Now what you want to do here is definitely block the token, because in order to kill off the Rift Watcher, what he's going to have to do is sacrifice 2 goblins. So he can either not sacrifice goblins and, lose just the token, or he can sacrifice 2 of them to kill off the Rift Watcher, and if he does, in response to his second trigger of Sledder, use Cloud Shift and the Rift Watcher is going to live anyways. He definitely makes the right play here. He decides not to pump up this Goblin token and instead uses it to pump up one of the other creatures that I didn't block. So it's the same amount of damage coming through, but at the same time, I'm permanently getting rid of a creature from the field, and that's in my benefit. Getting down to 18 life is no big deal. You see, I get low missionary, so I am already way back above 20. Well, I guess not way back, it's only 2 more, but I do decide to attack with the Rift Watcher. I have a lot of options doing kind of a similar thing with the Lone Missionary when it comes to blocking. He can use the Martyr of Ashes to do 1 damage, but at this point in time, if he chose to do that, he would lose the Sledder unless he sacrificed the Goblin, so it's really not in his favor to use it. So he's going to attack through with the 2 Mogs as well as, the 2 2/2 Goblins as well as the Martyr, and I decided that the best play here was to block the Martyr. No, I didn't block the Martyr? Okay, well, I think that's a mistake on my part. I think blocking the Martyr would be a better option. But I guess I can see what I did here. At the same time, I knew he would sacrifice a Goblin to pump the other, so, I'm getting rid of a bigger creature. The Martyr's only a 1/1. I'm really getting rid of a 2/2 by forcing him to sacrifice it. So, not a big loss here. I guess that was the right play, but it is going to put me back down to 18. Draw into Renewed Faith, which is great. I'm going to cycle that away and draw into a Lone Missionary. So that's going to come down, and again, still have the 1 mana available for Cloud Shift, which will be able to blink this Rift Watcher on the next turn when it's going to die. So, gets back his Death Spark, puts out the mountains. It's going to be a little troublesome because I know those Death Sparks will hit the missionaries, but at this point in time I want to save the Cloud Shift for this Rift Watcher. It's got a bigger defense and it can fly through the air unabated, so I'm going to just let him kill off that missionary instead of blinking it. He could also, in response, do other things to kill it, so, it's definitely a safer play at this point in time from where I'm sitting to use it on the Rift Watcher. So attacks through with his Martyr as well as the Sledder. I decide to block the Sledder to force him to sacrifice some of his Goblins to keep it alive. He decides not to and just kills the Goblin Sledder, which puts me in a great position. Definitely what I wanted to see happen there. So, my turn now. It's coming off, and I'm going to, in response, use Cloud Shift, but he does, with the 1 card in hand, have a Lightning Bolt, so it is going to just die anyways. Not a big deal, but it does suck. I don't have a hand at this point. I draw into another scroll, so instead of playing that first, I'm just going to sacrifice the one in play to draw a card, put down the Lone Missionary that I drew, and then I think I put out the other scroll? Yeah. You want to, like I said there, you want to be able to use the one on the field first. It's best to save these for an Angel to gain the 5 life, but there's a lot of times where I just want the card. So definitely use that first before playing the second one. That leaves you, at this point in time, you see we're at 5 mana. If I played this first before sacrificing one of them, then I would be at 3 untapped mana and would not be able to play an Angel if I drew it. So you want to just be aware of things like that. So Death Spark's triggering yet again. He's going to be able to return that to his hand and, well, draw a card. Uses it to kill off the missionary, which was expected, and attacks through for 1. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said there's a lot of times that Goblins in the mid to late game, as you can see here, 1 card in hand doesn't have a creature to play, which means that he cannot attack with these 2/2s. So, going to sacrifice there because all I had is the Martyr of Sands, and that is not going to be able to reveal anything at this point in time. So I tap out here to play the Rift Watcher. You could have at the same time played the Martyr and left the mana available to reveal the Rift Watcher, but I really wanted to get this extra damage on the field, this extra blocker. He plays another Mog Conscript. I am going to block the Martyr this time around. Going to take 4 damage, but I'm already at 30, so killing off that Martyr is going to be a better thing. He does have the option to keep recurring Death Spark to kill off my missionaries and such, but getting it off the table is just, it's good habit, there's no reason to keep that around. Finally draw into an Angel. Definitely sucks that it's been this late, but we're going to get that into play. Hopefully we can draw into another scroll and things will be good. He returns the Death Spark, but does not get a creature play, so we are going to be able to attack through. I'm keeping the Journey in hand. Again, these I don't really consider a threat. I think a lot of times people playing Goblins waste removal on these too quickly, but I know that in this mid to late game, Goblins has trouble keeping up the momentum and getting other creatures into play for these to attack. So I'm going to hold on to Journey to Nowhere for a while, save it for something more important, like say a Sparksmith or a Slitter, and put out the Sands and use it if the Sands dies. If the Sands gets targeted like now, I'm going to use it to reveal and gain some life. So that goes up, that all dies. Yep, he draws a card here, and I imagine it was still not a creature, and he still would not be able to attack because he did concede. So there's kind of the Goblins matchup and an idea of what you can do against it. Hopefully you got to see some of the cool interactions with the Martyrs and stuff, and get some ideas on the card draw and how to deal with that.